What's up, guys? I hope you're doing well. I took last week off from uploading so I could get better at streaming, and I think I came up with a good system so far. So on weekdays from 1 to 3, I've been streaming making beats, and then from about 3 onwards, I start playing video games. So if you guys ever want to come in, listen to me make some beats, or suggest that I, sample something, go look at some plugin, this or that, you can come do that. Or if you just want to chill out, listen to somebody play some games while you also play games or do work, or even play games with me, you can do that as well. There's been a small community of people who've been tuning into the stream so far, so if you're one of those people, I appreciate that a lot, and hope you guys keep coming back. But if you're new to the streams, it basically works like how the comment section is on the videos. You can come, leave suggestion, this or that, just say what's up, and I'll be there talking to everybody. So if you're interested in that, please stop by, but other than that, I'll dive into today's video. So today we're going to be going over the Amigo sampler, which is a modern recreation of the Amiga sampler by Steckert. And for those who don't know, an Amiga was a computer system from, I believe, the 80s and 90s that drum and bass and jungle producers used to make beats and music on. And in the Amigo sampler, it's a good blend of like retro sort of aesthetics and modern sort of sounds, but it definitely keeps to that sort of retro feeling aesthetic. So diving into the sampler before I go through any of these sounds that I used, we have the fine tune up here. It can go plus or minus 99. And then you have the pitch, which is your octaves. You can pitch it up or down 2 octaves. And then you have your standard volume, attack, and release. It's like the ADSR knobs that are in FL Studio when you drag in drums or one-shot sounds. And then here, below the release, is the sample rate, and that's what sort of gives it a retro sort of sound and feel. So in this first version that I haven't updated yet, the sample rate caps at 22,000. But in the newer version, I believe it goes to either 33,000 or 35,000. And what the sample rate means is basically how much data is stored in the sample. So if I disable the effects I have so far, this is what the sample sounds like. As you can tell, there's like some crackling, there's noise, it sounds a little bit crushed. And then when I re-enable the effects, you can hear it, it sounds beefier, but that crackle and bit crush is still there. So if you lower the sample rate all the way, you can see how that gets affected. And it just gives it a more retro sort of, I guess, lo-fi appeal. But personally, I like to keep it higher in quality so it doesn't sound too distorted. And then how to get sounds in here, you can either click this load button and load a sound in through the Windows File Explorer, or you can go to this File Explorer on the side of FL Studio and just drag a sound in. It's pretty straightforward. And that brings you down here to the mode. So right now, because this is a one-shot I got from Splice, it's on sample mode, but you can drag in a loop or I guess a drum break, set it to slice, and you can start double-clicking places to add slice keys. And then you can double-click again to remove them, so nothing gets messed up. So yeah, with that breakdown out of the way, I'll show you what I did. So for this first pad, I just came with this simple sort of melody. Very straightforward. I chose this pad sort of sound to fit the aesthetic of those more old school sort of tracks, to fit with the whole, old school aesthetic with the plugin itself. And then I added Sausage Fattener to beef it up a little bit. This crystalline preset about halfway in the mixer channel, a little bit wider to push it out because I have some other elements that are centered. And then if you can see here, the EQ, I moved it over a little bit and gave a bit of a raise, just so that middle part is more beefy. Moving on next, I moved on to the simple bass I got from a drum and bass Reddit pack, and got this pattern. As you can see, it follows the same notes as the pad before it, just shifted down one octave. I also added Destructor to it to give it a more distorted and beefier sort of feel, along with another mid pass, but I tweaked the knob a little bit so it gets more of the low end. And then I also shifted it to the right a little bit because it is not centered. It's not centered if you look at this. And personally, that annoys me. I hate it when like a sound that's supposed to be in the middle is panned a little bit too much. And that's just a personal, like, I don't even know if it's OCD. It's just, gets to me for whatever reason. Next up, I took a section of this loop and I pitched it down 4, messed with the attack a little bit, put in this very simple pattern. And if you could notice, whenever you're in sample mode and you move notes around up or down, for whatever reason, the speed of what you are playing will change. So just keep that in mind for if you're, chopping up loops or this or that and trying to get things to sound a certain way. You might need to mess with some of these other settings down here, whether it's the reverse, the stretch, this or that. And then finally, I believe for the melodies, we have this vocal atmosphere one shot. I pitched it up 2 and I cut the beginning of it to make it sound like this. And I did this very choppy pattern. I also took the default Fruity Chorus preset and put it in about halfway. I also added some wider, pushed it out double of this first pad. And also in the EQ and the mixer rack, I performed a high cut and dragged it all the way out to the right just to get rid of some annoyingly high-pitched frequencies. So altogether, the melodic elements sound like this. Moving on to the drums, I have 2 breaks to sort of give the track variation. I got this Amen break that I got from Looperman, which you can see I made slices in 4 different places, giving it 5 different sections to pull from. And I noticed that with drum breaks, I don't know if they fixed this in the newer version, but you need a drum break that's a similar BPM to what your sound is going to be. For whatever reason, I couldn't get these drum breaks to stretch right, so the timing was all out of order and I couldn't get it to sound right. So this drum break that I used, I believe it's around 170 BPM, so it's a little slower. And with these chops that I made, I got, this break. Very simple, a lot of snare and kick span. And then over here, because I'm deciding to work on a kit for drum and bass, so you guys can use a lot of the similar effect change that I use and this and that and just jump straight into it, I decided to make a similar chain that I used with stock FL Studio presets. I also saved a version of it that uses the non-stock presets or plugins that I have. So if you only have some of the plugins or don't have any of the plugins, you can still use the effect chain. And I made sure, like for the reverb, for example, to match it up pretty similar, if not exactly the same, to the crystalline preset that I've used. We have the Fruity compressor, and this is just, make the break louder. Then we got Fruity reverb. The size is all the way up. The speed is about 1/3. The dry is about 2/3 up. The wet's about halfway. Made sure to add a high and a low cut so it wasn't too washed out. And then in the mixer track, it's about 50%. And then once again, I added Destructor for the, the distortion. You don't have to have this enabled. I think when I saved it, it's actually disabled. But I liked it because it made it, more aggressive and fits the more raw feeling of this sort of track. And then finally, for this sort of intro, outro, and transition break, I used the auto slice feature, I believe, which is down here in the slice mode, to get all of these chops, and it brought me to this break. And as you can tell, I've put an EQ on it, made a cut at 208 Hz and 3100 Hz, used a similar, if not the same, reverb preset, and then compression to make it louder. Again, I used stock and a regular version for this, or rather a stock and a paid version. So if you only have some of the plugins or don't have any of the plugins, you can use it. But other than that, it's pretty straightforward. So I'll let the beat play out. You guys can let me know how you feel about it. And like always, if you have any more suggestions or comments, this or that, leave that down below. I like being able to read everything that you guys submit. And it just, it makes me feel good knowing that people enjoy the videos. And I just wanted to let you know that I appreciate you guys as well. And I hope you have a great day. Thank you again for watching.